Let's get to it because I had to take off today after Jim Schwartz spoke, so I didn't get to actually see Deshaun Watson practice. So you guys get to be my eyes for me. Mary Kay, what did it look like?
Well, it didn't start out all that well. On some of the shorter passes, it looked like he was leaving them kind of short, and it looked like they were kind of like dipping at the end. So they just didn't have their usual spin. They didn't really have their usual velocity on them. But then as he warmed up a little bit, and I think also as he got a little bit more confident as the practice went on, he got a little bit better just in terms of his zip on the ball, his velocity on the ball, and he started to throw some longer passes. He started out with some 10-yarders, and then he worked his way up to about 30 yards. And he completed several 30-yard passes, one to Amari Cooper, one to Marquise Goodwin, one to David Njoku, and that we saw. And remember, we are only watching the first 20 minutes of practice or so. So we're not seeing everything. We don't know what happened after we left. We do know that he was limited in practice. So we know that he didn't, take every single rep that he possibly could have. My takeaway from it is that based on what I saw, he probably could go out there and play in the game if he doesn't have any more setbacks and if he feels pretty good tomorrow when he tries to get back out there. But that's not the only criteria. The criteria also has to be what would be the long-term effect of playing in this game in the event that you further injure these micro tears in the shoulder. That would be my concern. So I would probably err on the side of caution and shut him down for another week, maybe even another 2 weeks, until he really feels like he can drive that ball with confidence, not be hesitant out there, and just really let it rip and be who he is. But I don't know. I have a feeling like it's trending maybe towards him playing. Hard to say.
Ashley, what did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me in their practice, the biggest thing was when he was throwing the ball, not seeing, which Mary Kay, you talked about this, that usual zip that he has on the ball, especially on those deeper throws. Like if you go back and watch the video of that pass to Amari Cooper or David Njoku or Marquise Goodwin, like the ball is almost more, there's more like hang time almost on the ball. You don't have that quick zip that you would want to see in a game. And it's hard to, was that by design? Is he just taking it easy, testing some things out? Are they going to kind of work their way up to that? Did he do it later in practice when it was closed to us? Like all of those things we don't know. But that was my big takeaway. And again, like I think when we talk about the trends of him, not practicing versus being out there today, it definitely is a step towards like, oh, well, maybe he will try to play. But I don't know that my feelings have changed on that in terms of thinking it's a good idea, which I didn't yesterday and I still don't really today. But I think overall, like it was at least, I'm trying to think of the word I want to say, like at least we did get to see him throw some of those like 20 to 30 yard passes there at the end, and they were completions. But yeah, the no zip on the ball and maybe the slight underthrowing were, I think, the big takeaways in terms of his throwing motion today.
Is there potential that this thing could play out till game time, or do you think the Browns make a decision on this on Friday, or even maybe they make it on Saturday, but they make a decision before? Because I guess what I'm asking is this going to be Baltimore all over again? Or do you think the Browns want to make a decision before then?
I think in a perfect world, they would like to make a decision before then. They would like to know who is starting for them at quarterback by tomorrow. I think they would probably like to make sure that their team knows exactly what's happening and who their quarterback is going to be. And if they can do that, they will. But I also can see a world in which they list him as questionable and bring it up to get to game time. I could see that happening because this thing is, as we know, it's day to day. And, they might not want to jump the gun on Friday and say that he's playing and he's starting. And then they get to Sunday, and after 2 or 3 days of throwing on this thing, because that's another thing to remember about this. As Deshaun told us yesterday, this is almost like in the baseball world where you have to approach it, where you need days of rest on this thing. So if he throws today and then needs a rest tomorrow and then throws some on Saturday, you know what I mean? Like there's a strategic plan going on here. And I don't know yet what they're going to feel comfortable saying or not saying. I guess because of the mercurial nature of this injury and this shoulder, that they might not be able to announce him as their starter tomorrow. They might have to list him as questionable and just see how it goes over the next 48 hours.